Happy Friday. I know that for many of you, this hasn't been a real calm or quiet week. You know, when you turn on the news, it feels like the world's in turmoil and it's easy for uncertainty to creep in, especially if you're someone who's retired or you're getting really close to it. And I send a newsletter out to all my clients every Friday. It's called 5 Minute Friday. Um, Takes a little longer than that to talk about, but about 5 minutes to read. And I thought I'd share some things with you today. Um, because here's the thing, in periods like this, crazy stuff going on, the single biggest asset that you have right now is not your portfolio. It's your mind and your confidence. So, my job when I'm working with my clients isn't just about managing money. It's about helping manage the emotion that comes with a headline driven world like we live in. So today I focused a lot on cutting through the noise to help kind of put some perspective on what's going on and remind people what's real and what's not. And I'm hoping it's valuable for you. So we're going to just start with talking about the geopolitical shock and the risk of the red screen, we'll call it. Because if you turned on the news this week, you likely saw war, chaos, global shock, just scrolling across the bottom of the screen following this escalation of the conflict in Iran. And global markets also reacted with what we'd call a liquidity event. So a lot of people pay attention to the Dow. There was an 1,100 point intraday swing. So the Dow swung that much in a day, and $3.2 trillion drop in global equity value in just 96 hours. That's the headlines you see. That's what you hear about. But here's the thing that's really important is the 24-hour news cycle treats a market drop like it's some permanent loss of wealth. They want you to feel that just because a number on a screen changed at 2:00 on a Thursday, that your retirement's suddenly at risk. They focus on the price of the market because the price is volatile. It moves a lot. And volatility, that's what sells advertising. So I want you to remember that and start to notice that pattern. It's why we don't see positive news very often. But in the back nine of life, if you have a long-term disciplined investment strategy, we have to distinguish between price and value, because history shows us that markets almost always overreact to the first shot of any type of war or conflict. I mean, this is from the Korean War to the Gulf War. The patterns were remarkably consistent. There's an initial sharp sell-off, and then there's a period of stabilization as the news gets absorbed and, people are fed more to think about. And then the world continues to turn. That's the pattern. Up until now, historically, the world hasn't ended. So if you're retired or close to it, and you're a person who has an income reserve built, that's what we call it at Fivestone, but this is just that kind of 5 to 6 year buffer built into your strategy. Designed in the design there is to give you the emotional capital to deal with these swings. Not even deal with them, but to almost be able to ignore them. Because you don't need to sell today's sale prices to buy groceries. You can wait for that inevitable rebound that follows the geopolitical noise. Whenever that happens. There's no timeline on this. There's not a specific clock. But to better dial this in, you have to understand what it is that you're investing in, what you own. And I like to phrase this between ownership and participation. So I'm going to borrow a perspective from the legendary Nick Murray, who says that most people think of themselves as participants in a hissing, writhing bag of snakes called the stock market. I love that. But that's a fundamental misunderstanding of what you actually own. Because when the market drops 5% due to a headline like war, Did the value of the great companies you own actually vanish? Think about that. Did you stop using your iPhone or your Windows or operating system this morning? Or did you stop buying paper towels from Bounty or shaving with a Gillette razor? Did you stop shipping packages through FedEx? Or did you stop grocery shopping at Target or going to Costco? No, you probably didn't. These companies they're a machine. They're the machine of the world. They're made of millions of people who wake up every morning with one goal: to solve problems and create profit for their owners. That's you. You're an owner. The price of these companies is literally a temporary consensus of a crowd of nervous people. The value of these companies is their ability to produce earnings and dividends over decades. So I want you to see that distinction between this short-term price thing and this long-term value thing. As an owner, your job isn't to guess where the price is going to be today or tomorrow or next Friday. Your job's to maintain what we call the fortitude of the owner. So if you had a business, or think about your house, you wouldn't sell a profitable business just because there's a tough couple weeks or couple months or even couple years, or just because there's a scary headline. So we can't let the 24-hour news cycle talk you into selling the greatest businesses in the world at a discount. That's the epitome of short-term thinking in a long-term situation. So here's what I want to get across. If you're retired, this stuff becomes more real. It's real. You're living in and with your portfolio. So in times like this, when the news is loud and there's a lot of stuff going on, it seems like every day, but it's because of that 24-hour news cycle. The values of a prudent, structured philosophy around how you're going to invest and knowing ahead of time how you're going to react or not, that's the value. That's what helps you win in the long term. So for our clients, we have this income reserve that's there to help handle the short-term shock of the markets. And your ownership of great companies is what is there to handle the long-term growth. So this weekend, I just want to encourage you to turn down the noise a little bit. Spend some time in the physical world. Get with your family. Do the things that you want to do. Don't shut off the news. You don't have to become a recluse and not know what's going on in the world. But choose when you see it. Don't let it get pushed to you. Adopt a pull strategy. Maybe look at it a couple times a day. Once in the morning, once in the evening. And you know what? If the world didn't end between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., you're probably going to be okay.